guys, Margie again, and today's movie review is of the 1992 film, The Last of the Mohicans. Before I jump into this one, I'm going to go ahead and warn you that this one may be a little bit on the longer side because I have a lot of stuff to talk about with this one. So, let's jump into this. Okay, we've got Mr. Daniel Day-Lewis. We've got Madeline Stowe, Russell Means, Eric Schweig, Jody May, Wes Studi, Stephen Waddington, Maurice Roves, Pelk Postlewaite, and Cole Meany. Okay, directed by Michael Mann, who also produced it. Screenplay by Michael Mann and Christopher Crowe. Editing by Dove Honig and Arthur Schmidt. Music by Randy Edelman and Trevor Jones. Cinematography by Dante Spinotti. And produced by Ned Dowd, Hunt Lowry, James G. Robinson, and Michael Mann. Basic plot for this is, of course, we're all familiar, I'm pretty sure, with the classic tale of The Last of the Mohicans, and this is essentially just an adaptation of that. There is a, this general has two daughters, and they're trying to escort the two daughters to, like another fort or something like that, and they get attacked by Indians, and then, yay, here comes Daniel Day-Lewis to save them. And Daniel Day-Lewis is actually like a white guy, but he's been rescued by Indians when he was young or somehow, but anyway, he was raised with the Indians. So, anyway, I don't know, it's not really a good plot, but I'm pretty sure everybody knows it, so I didn't want to spend a lot of time on it. Let's jump into performances, guys. Daniel Day-Lewis obviously played the main character in this film, and I thought he was great. I'm a pretty big Daniel Day-Lewis fan because he gets the job done and does it so well. And anyway, as you know, I loved him in Lincoln, which I've done a previous review of, and anyway, I'm just a big fan of him pretty much in general, so I'm ranting, but anyway, Mr. Daniel Day-Lewis was good, and his accent was great. There was a few lines where he kind of came out of it for just a minute, or like he'd say a word and you kind of hear that little, you know, that little British thing kind of come on to the end there, but on the whole it was so good. And that is one thing that, you know, so many actors can't do, and I just really like him for that because, you know, as I just mentioned, a lot of them can't do it, but that's like a whole nother level to your acting, you know, that you can really play anybody. You can be other voices, and I don't know, it's so great to me because, like I said, people just can't do it anymore, or they don't do it, or whatever. So I absolutely loved him for that, and most of his accents are, all the ones I've heard are killer. I mean, good grief, There Will Be Blood, his accent was like amazing. I loved it. But anyway, okay, so I don't have anything else to say really other than I thought he did everything he could have done. A couple lines were cheesy. That was some of the writing, which I'm going to get to in just a minute, so I didn't think he could have been any better. And honestly, I don't really feel like he was having to try that hard on this film. I mean, you could just, I don't know, it just felt like to me like he was just kind of, you know, not really hugely into it, and that could be totally false, but based on his performance, I would say he was just kind of like, you know, this is not really the role I'm in love with, and yada yada, and he still crushed it, so good for him, and great. Okay, Madeline Stowe, she was good on the whole. She plays one of the general's daughters, and she also plays Daniel Day-Lewis's love interest, but she was good on the whole, but her accent was so bad. Oh, mercy. Which made Daniel Day-Lewis look even better. But anyway, I have here Madeline, well, I don't know if you call it bad, but here's my notes. Madeline Stowe's accent was so confusing, almost all American with a few British words, and she's supposed to be British. So she's like, one minute she's American, and then like she would say stuff in like an American accent, and then just like have like a British word tacked on at the end. I'm like, pick a nationality here, like, I don't know, it was like, oh mercy, somebody needs to help on this. But anyway, everybody else that I previously mentioned I thought was good. A few stereotypes, a few forced lines, a few stiffness. But, you know, again, I can't comment on that about, like, the Indians. Some people would say, oh, like, the Indian dudes were too stiff and yada yada. Okay, hello, this is how a lot of people portray Indians, as like these really stiff, wooden guys that like look all scary and intense. So again, directing, I mean, I don't blame it on the actors. I thought the actors on the whole did good, really good. Probably with the exception of Madeline Stowe, because again, her accent was really bad, and again, I don't totally blame her, because that is when you need a good director to come to you and say, look, sweetie, we gotta fix this. No joke. Anyway. Moving on. The directing for this guys was kind of oh man, it's kind of a mess, just because I feel like I'm also considering the fact that he produced it. I feel like the whole movie just kind of flip-flopped all over the place. And yes, I am blaming a good bit of that on the directing. I mean, you know, as far as like camera angles and the way that scenes were done and most of that stuff, it was good. But it's just like these massive flaws that you're like, how can you not see? You know, like that person wouldn't say that, or like this would never really happen, or you're making your actors look bad, or yada yada yada. You know, it's just like, I don't know, kind of blindness, honestly. I mean, I can see that. Directing I didn't think was that great, but then again, this is like this huge, masterful film too. This is a huge project to take on. So I'm cutting him a little bit of slack. And again, as far as like the way the camera moved and yada yada, and like a lot of the landscapes and scenes and stuff were good. I'm just talking about like, and also him as the producer, Mr. Michael Mann, how he was not like, look, we got to fix this. Like, he should have fixed a lot of things, which I'm fixing to get to. Anyway, the writing I'm saving, because that was something I really wanted to talk about. But speaking of this, though, let's jump into the cinematography by Dante Spinotti, I'm sorry. Good. I really liked it. There was a lot of lovely scenes. The lighting was good. There were some really interesting camera angles, and I thought he did everything he could have done. And he works with Michael Mann a lot. So, obviously, they work well together. Music by Randy Edelman and Trevor Jones. I wanted to make a special note of this because I really like the score for this on the whole. And good grief, there are so many scenes where you're just like looking at like the grandeur of the, you know, like the mountains or something, and they've got this massive score going, and it's absolutely breathtaking. But I don't know who, there was two composers on this, Randy Edelman and Trevor Jones. I don't know who made the call, or both of them, when to place the music. Like, the soundtrack by itself is great. It is literally gorgeous. I love it. But placed with the film, and it was totally appropriate for the film. It's just like, no, this shouldn't have been here. Like, you need to swap the music between these two scenes. Ridiculous amounts. Like, the score is killer, but it seems so inappropriate for so many scenes. And as you go along in the movie, you're like, you know what? This little part of the score right here would have been so perfect with that scene like 30 minutes ago. Like, oh my word. So I don't know who, and I usually never touch on that, but it was really, really, like, obvious, like, this is so inappropriate for this scene, and it's gorgeous, but it's so inappropriate for this scene, like, what in the world? Speaking of this, and I said, I don't know if this is sound mixing or what, but the music seemed way too loud for so many scenes, because you couldn't hear anything that was like going on in the background. Like for the battle scenes, all you hear is like this sweeping score that's just like covering over all the, I don't know, it was confusing, and it's not the score people's fault, I don't think. It's who decided how loud the volume would be and why they omitted so much of the like battle scenes and stuff. Like, if you want to have like just music and battle scenes and like slow motion and stuff, great, do it, go for it. But this was like, you still hear the music, but you can still kind of hear just a little bit of the background, the battle scenes, and you're like, okay, am I supposed to hear this? Am I not supposed to hear this? I don't know. That was kind of a mess. And I felt like they wanted the score to cover a multitude of sins on this one, as far as sound and everything. So, yeah, the score was great, but again, it was placed in the wrong moments. So, I'm kind of torn about the music for this because, like I said, independently, it's killer. Where they place it in the movie, it's totally inappropriate. You're like, I'm not supposed to be, like, happy and running and skipping music when, like, people are dying on the ground. Like, what the heck? It was so, it stuck out like a sore thumb. It really did. Okay, and I know I'm taking so long in this, guys, but I told you it was going to be long. So, anyway, alright, editing I thought was good. This was edited by Dove Honig and Arthur Schmidt, and Arthur Schmidt knows exactly what he's doing. Why? Because he has done a lot of editing with Robert Zemeckis, including Forrest Gump, Castaway, Contact, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So basically, he loves to work with Rob Zemeckis. But yeah, he knows what he's doing. He's done a lot of stuff separate from Robert Zemeckis that is killer. So great job to him. It did get a little draggy, but just because, I mean, there wasn't like particular scenes you're like cut out. It's just like it is like a 2-hour movie. So you're just, or longer than that actually, I think. So you're just kind of like, oh, this is never going to end. But it's not like that should have been cut, that should have been cut. I mean, I thought the editing on the whole was great. So, of course, he's Arthur Schmidt, and Dove Honig was great too. But anyway, okay, I saved the best for last. The writing on this film. Ooh, fan me. Wow. Wow, it's so confusing. I literally felt like I was being smacked in the head with a dead cat. And it's like, and you're like, what the heck did you just say? That is exactly how I felt during the movie. It was like, what are you doing? And there was so many moments, and tell me if you experienced this or not, because I really want to know. Leave it in the comments. For me, with this movie, there were so many moments, especially after like the 1.5-hour mark, that I was laughing hysterically and there was nothing funny going on. Like, it's not supposed to be funny. You're just like, wow, I can't believe they just did that. That is so bad. It's making me laugh. Like, okay, spoiler, I'm going to put right here where you can skip to skip past this spoiler. In the end, I made a special note of this, well, kind of a spoiler, but a particular girl leaps to her death randomly. Then the Indian, who thought of her as like this huge trophy prisoner girl who he like wanted to take and stuff, just kind of like, whatever. And I was like, I literally started laughing like uncontrollably because you have this character who they haven't really fleshed out, who they've just barely dealt with. She's kind of a scaredy cat, but she's in no danger, and she's literally standing at the edge of the cliff. Another person leaps to their death. She sees them leap to their death. She's like, I'll do it too. She literally, and they show like forever like her standing there. They show like the Indian's face and her face, the Indian's face and her face, because the Indian and her are standing there looking at each other. She jumps off. And the Indian, who is like, again, is like, I must have these people because I hate their father and yada yada, and I'll avenge them and I want to kill them and all this. It's just kind of like, oh, well, see ya. You know, and it's just like, what? What in the world? And that's not like dialogue writing. That's like, what the heck? Like, this is not something that should have been included in the plot, friend. And, oh, gosh, I know. And some people are going to say, Margie, you're being too picky, and I didn't agree, and yada yada. Great. But I felt it was important to mention. If you thought it went well with the plot and everything else and you've seen this movie, great. But I was really confused, so please enlighten me, because but it was really funny. And if I'd watched this movie with somebody, I actually watched it by myself, but if I'd watched it with somebody else, they probably would have been like, what the heck are you laughing at? And I would have been like, because that was so random. Like, that, no. Okay, compose myself here. Alright, the real problem is with the characters. It's not the dialogue, and it's not necessarily, like, what happens in the plot, but it's how they, like, what the characters do, essentially, is where the writing really goes south, and I'm getting there. Alright, I have here, the characters flip-flop all over the place. Y'all, they're like, one way this minute and this way the next minute. Like, they're just like wishy-washy. They flip all, and you're like, you were just like, okay, perfect example. You're like, what are you talking about? Perfect example. Alice, who is the, this young girl who is, Cora's sister, Madeline Stowe's sister, the general's daughter, is so scared and all this stuff. Like, when the Indians first come and try and attack her and Cora and yada yada, like, she hides in Madeline Stowe's skirt. She's, like, weeping. She's terrified. And then, when the Indians drag her off, like, about 45 minutes later into the movie, she's just like, okay, it's good, you know? And I'm like, what? I don't know if this was... Like, I would have loved to have seen, like, a really good ball. Like, Jodie May played her character, just like, no, don't take me away. Weep, sob, hysterical, yada, yada, yada. Okay, it would have killed it. But, I don't know, and I don't know if Michael Mann opted not for that because his actress couldn't deliver. I don't know if that's how it wasn't written, but if she couldn't deliver it and you needed it, then you say, I'm sorry, we're going to have to get somebody else or something. Like, because it was like, so it would have been so great. And that was really weird. But then she doesn't even scream or cry when they take her off. She's just like, okay, I'm going. You know, it's good. Like, just a minute ago you were like freaking out when people, I mean, it's like wish wash. But then guess who's freaking out? Madeline Stowe's character. She's like, oh, like, this whole time she's been like, Alice, be strong, we're strong, you know, and all this, and then she goes away and she's like, no, which is appropriate, but it's like, again, wish-wash. One minute you're strong and brave, the next minute you're a basket case. Like, I don't get this. So many missed opportunities for slow motion. Oh, my stars. Like, because with all these, like, killer battle scenes, and they had, like, a lot of slow motion, but so many missed opportunities with, like, make it really dramatic, make you just, like, be like, oh, what's going to happen, and, you know, yada yada. Completely missed that. Didn't capitalize on many of those. So many things are far-fetched. As I mentioned, you're like, that would never happen. Come on. Seriously. Your character would never do that. Yeah, and again, like I said with the whole sound thing, I really felt like they were hoping the score would, like, cover over everything, including, you know, like, the far-fetched things and the weird plot twists and yada yada. They're just like, oh, the music will get it. No. So, yeah. Anyway, also in the writing, for me, the romance happened way too quickly. And you guys let me know what you thought about this in the comments. I have here in my notes, the romance happens way too quickly between Daniel Day-Lewis's character and Madeline Stowe. They haven't spent any real time together, and then all of a sudden they're so madly in love they're willing to die for each other. And you're like, what the heck? They haven't even, like, if you would have even stuck in a two minute montage of, like, them spending time together, them laughing together, them conversing, yada yada yada, that would have been great. But you've got Daniel Day-Lewis is like this hardened, you know, he's white, but he's like an Indian fighter. He meets Madeline Stowe. He hates her guts at first, and then, like, within, like, you know, like, they have no scenes together, but then all of a sudden, he's like, oh, no, I'm willing to, like, give my life for her, and I'm willing to stay here and risk death to be with her. And you're like, what the heck? You just hated her 2 seconds ago. Seriously, like, one conversation that's, like, 3 minutes long is gonna change, like, I mean, it's so far-fetched. And they go from hating each other to madly in love in literally 2 60-second conversations. And again, there's no indication that time has passed. There's no montage. Get a montage. Seriously. I don't know. It's just like, this is all happening too fast, but yet the movie's still dragging on. I don't know. Things just kind of felt like that. It's like one thing, you know, just like boom, 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 boom. Things keep happening crazily in the plot, but yet, I don't know. It was strange, y'all. But anyway, let's jump into the parent's guide for this one before I do my summary. The language and stuff in this was actually not bad at all. Like, there is 4 D's and 1 H. So, literally, like, practically no language. So, that was great. The sexual content department, there's cleavage, and then there's a make-out scene that is very, you know, like, intense or whatever, but fully clothed, no nudity, nothing like that. And then, for the violence and gore, there is a scene where a guy cuts out another guy's heart. You don't actually see him cutting it out, but then he holds up this piece of meat that's supposed to be the heart, and it's like, you know, look, I've got somebody's heart in my hand, so, yeah. It didn't bother me, but, you know, some people, and for the kiddos, ooh, lots of blood. Lots of blood, lots of wounds, lots of battle scenes, and not really like a lot of violence, but like, you know, the guys have got swords and they're like slashing away and you see people getting it, you know, so it's, for violence, it's not the best. Again, it didn't bother me, but especially for the kids, I would say no. So yeah, be aware of that. Drug and alcohol, I might be like a little alcohol, you know, wine or something. I can't remember. I don't think there was any, really. In summing this one up, guys, I'm stealing a quote from another critic who said, "Keep the eyes and ears dazzled and the substance will follow," is essentially what the director and producer, and writer, Mr. Michael Mann, was thinking, I believe, is, as I just said, keep the eyes and ears dazzled, and the substance will follow. And unfortunately, the substance does not follow, just because there was a lot of beautiful scenes, and there was some good acting. There was some really good acting here, especially by Mr. Daniel Day-Lewis, but you're just like, I can't relate to this character, I can't care for this character, and then right when you're fixing to start caring for the character, and you're like, okay, I kind of get you, and yada yada, they go and do something stupid, like the girl jumps off the cliff. You're like, why? Why? Like, why would she jump off the cliff? There's no threat of death. There's no, like, oh, my best friend or my sister has been killed. Like, she's not sad. She just, like, randomly leaps off the cliff, and you're like, what the heck? What the heck? I don't know. Confusing. So many things like that. You're like, why? I don't understand this. I'm so confused. I'm in the dark. I don't know, guys. That's just how I felt about this one. And so many people are like, oh, that totally made sense to me. Great, because I'm in the dark. Please explain. I'm giving this film 2.5 stars out of 5. Again, great for Daniel Day-Lewis. I felt like the cast on the whole was good. Again, except Madeline Stowe's accent was really, really, really confusing. I don't think her acting was that bad, but if you don't like her style, you'll not like it at all. So anyway, I'm familiar with her style of acting, though, so that's what I expected from her. A lot of beautiful scenes, a lot of like major scenes, epic scenes, grandeur, huge, you know, massive. Let's see how big we can make this, and beautiful visuals and yada yada. But in the end, it falls flat because, as that person said, it's a lot of like eye candy and stuff, but it all just falls flat. And that's disappointing to me because I felt like this could have been really great. For the Daniel Day-Lewis fans, I think it is worth a one-time watch. That was my incentive to watch it. But anyway, I don't know, guys. Would I watch this one again? I'm going to say no. Just because I can hear the score on YouTube or something like that, which is probably my favorite thing. Daniel Day and the score were probably my favorite things about this movie. But and again, the score is so badly placed within the movie. Like I was literally thinking, like, I could have put this better. And I never say that. I'm like, man, I could have put this better with each scene. Like, I could have, like, give me the score. I can say, okay, this goes here, this goes here, this goes here, and it would have been better than it was. And I never say that. Like, that's how bad it was, that I could have done it better. Anyway, guys, I know, kind of torn about this one. I'm not going to watch it again, but now you're informed, and now you know. So you can make your own decision. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for checking out my review of the 1992 version of the popular book, The Last of the Mohicans. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe. Let me know what you thought of this review and the movie and all of that in the comments, and I will talk to you guys later.